2012, I was a girls' high school basketball coach down in Texas, and I had a callus break open on the bottom of my foot right below my third toe. And I didn't think a lot of it because as a coach, you're on your feet a lot. But after a couple of weeks when it didn't heal, I went to see a podiatrist, a foot doctor friend of mine, and he took an x-ray and he said, Terry, I think you have a little cyst in there and I can cut it out. And he did. And he cut it out and he showed it to me. It was just a little gelatin sac with some white fat in it. No dark spots, no blood, nothing that would give anybody pause or concern. But he sent it off to pathology. And then 2 weeks later, I get a call from him. And as I said, he was a friend. And the more difficulty he was having describing what was going on, obviously, the more frightened I was becoming, until he just kind of laid it out. He said, Terry, I've been a doctor for 25 years. I have never seen this form of cancer. You have a rare form of melanoma. And most people think of melanoma as some type of a skin disease, too much exposure to the sun or something like that. But that's the majority of melanoma. After that, there's a version that I have that's very rare that appears either on the bottom of your feet or the palms of your hands. And actually, there's even a rarer form that appears in your mucous membrane, so your nose or your mouth or something like that. He said, I recommend you go to MD Anderson in Houston and be treated. And so I did. And I went to MD Anderson, had the wound excised on the bottom of my foot, had all the lymph nodes in my groin removed. And when I healed, I was put on a weekly injection of a drug called interferon. Now, interferon for me was just a horrible, nasty, debilitating drug that gave me flu-like symptoms for 2 to 3 days every week after each injection. And I took those weekly injections for almost 5 years. So imagine having the flu every week for 5 years. And that was just to keep the disease from coming back. That was not a cure for me. When the drug was stopped in 2017, the disease did come back. 2018, I had my left foot amputated because of the cancer. Came back again in 2019 in my shin, 2 more surgeries. And then last year, 2020, an undiagnosed tumor in my ankle grew large enough that it actually fractured my tibia, my shin bone. And further testing found that my entire lower leg was full of cancer and I had tumors in my lungs. So right in the middle of the pandemic last year, I had my left leg amputated above the knee. So I am in a clinical trial now to help with the tumors in my lungs. But in all honesty, I am probably heading towards the end of my life. My doctor's not talking about a cure. He's just talking about buying me some more time.
Oh my God. That's, I can only imagine how tough that must be, for you and your family, and to have to come to that realization. But something that I deeply respect is the mindset that it seems that you've taken despite all these challenges that you faced in your life, and how you've kind of turned it around and made it to where you're trying to offer something positive from these experiences that you've had through writing your book, through the speaking events that you do. And so could you kind of talk about what the process was for you to develop that mindset?
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of what was good about being in organized or team sports, team athletics, was the realization that you're part of something that's bigger than you. And if you don't hold up your end, if you don't do what you're asked to do, not only are you letting yourself down, you're letting your teammates down, you're letting your coaches down, you're letting your fans down, you're letting your parents down, your friends. So I learned, and as I said, I'm on this clinical trial drug, and I would be lying to you if I said that, this was, I'm in this for me. I am in this for me. I totally want this to work. And I pray every night for that miracle that it will work and take these tumors away. But I also realize that this is bigger than me, that the doctors may be able to glean information from all the blood tests that I get and from all the scans that I do, that maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they'll be able to synthesize a drug that will be able to save somebody else's life or prolong somebody else's life even more. So that's part of being bigger than yourself. And I think today, a lot of people are all about, what's in it for me? What do I get out of it? And it's not about you. It's about us. And if we look at it that way, that if I hold up my end of the bargain and you hold up your end, imagine what we could get accomplished instead of thinking, you know what, it's only about me. I'm only going to do what is good for me and the heck with everybody else. So I quickly realized that this was much bigger than myself. And the thing, I had a nurse recently who, when I first met her, she was taking care of me. She was just training in the unit. She was already a nurse, but was training in the unit. A couple months ago, she came to me. She said, Terry, I want to tell you a story, but I'm really nervous about telling you this story. I said, well, just say it. She said, well, when I first met you, I was going to get out of nursing. She said, I'd had a friend die. I was in a very dark place. I talked to my mom and dad. I was going to quit nursing. I was going to work for Amazon. And then I met you and I heard your story and I see what you go through every day at this hospital. You throw up, you shake, you have fever, you go through all this crap. And she's like, and I knew I was in the right place. Now, if she would have never told me that story, I would have had no idea that my life had an impact on her like that. Imagine who's watching you, who's watching me, who's watching Kamani, who's like, you know what? I want to be like him. I want to be like Terry. I want to be like whoever. You have no idea who these people are. There was a basketball coach back in the 70s, coach at UCLA by the name of John Wooden, who had a great saying, and it was this: a careful person I want to be, a little person follows me. I dare not go astray for fear they may go the same way. So that's another reason that I always kind of keep in the back of my mind. I have no idea who's watching me battle this disease and is taking their inspiration, their motivation, their courage from watching me. So I don't want to let that person down, on top of not wanting to let all the people down that I may never know when the doctors finally synthesize this drug that can help somebody down the road.
So it seems like it got to a point to where the focus went from just what your interest was to the legacy that you're leaving behind. And from there, all the stuff that you're going through became a lot more purposeful. Am I understanding that correctly?
You're absolutely understanding it correct. And what I've kind of developed over these last 9 years are what I call my 4 truths. And these are my truths. They may not work for you, but if one of them or all of them do, feel free to use them. And I'll give them to you. They're just 4 sentences. I have them on a Post-it note right here that I see on my desk every day. And I guess that's another thing I would recommend to your audience. If there's something, I want to be a lawyer or I want to play in the NBA, whatever it is, write it down. Don't type it out. Write it down and put it somewhere where you see it all the time, on your bathroom mirror, on your desk, in your car, wherever, where you see it and you're constantly reminded of it. So let me give you these 4 truths real quick. The first one is you need to control your mind or your mind will control you. The second one is you need to embrace the pain and the difficulty that we all experience in life and use that pain and difficulty to make you a stronger and more determined individual. The third one is kind of what you just talked about, the legacy. What are you leaving behind? What would your ancestors say about the life that you have lived? What are people going to talk about you at your funeral? And the third one is this: what you leave behind is what you weave in the hearts of other people. And then the fourth one is pretty self-explanatory. As long as you don't quit, you can never be defeated. And so I use these 4 truths to make decisions about, am I going to do this therapy? Am I going to be involved in this project and things like that? Those are the things that really kind of drive me and the things that I've learned over these last 9 years.